And live and online, Andrea, come on up here. She is, I think, actually talking online right now. And you've been, ready to go? So would you give a good welcome to Andrea? She's being recorded live and she is on the air. So are you on? So give her a big hand, would you?
Hey. I have pants. Here we go. Well, hello, everybody. It's nice to see all these new people and people who have been coming for a long time. I'm going to just hold this. My name is Andrea. I come to celebrate recovery for what I thought was addiction issues. Turns out it was much more about an identity issue than anything. But in June, I will be celebrating 5 years in recovery, and I just took 18 months for sobriety. Okay, so I've been thinking about this a lot. I don't know what that noise is, but it's aliens. Okay, here we go. I've been thinking about this a lot. I did a brief testimony at a program called Freedom Session a couple weeks ago, and I talked about love. And so I think I'm just gonna carry that on. And so the first thing I talked about there is this, and it says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. The second is this, to love your neighbor as yourself. And there is no greater commandment than these. So as I stand in this room and I look at all you lovely, wonderful people, I'm going to ask you 2 questions. How do you love your neighbor as yourself if you hate yourself? And how do you love God with everything you are if you hate what he made? So we're going to back it up. I grew up a really, really lonely kid. For as long as I can remember, I really struggled making friends. And as a kid, I thought that was my fault. But the truth is that I grew up in a really small community, and everybody knew my parents, and everybody knew my parents were drug dealers. So that made it a little challenging for other parents to want their kids to come and hang out at my house. And so I just didn't have any friends. And even my sister and I, we didn't even have a real relationship until I was 28. And so I was always lonely, and I was always alone, and I'm not good with being alone. So when I was 6 or 7, I can't remember, I started going to Save on Foods before school, and I would steal gum and chocolate bars, and I would take it to school in hopes of bribing other kids to be my friend. And, it's funny how those things we start when we're little actually kind of follow us into our adult life. And so I actually really thought that that's what I had to do as an adult and as a teenager, was like bribe people, like do things I didn't want to do or pay for things I didn't want to pay for them to like me, for them to be my friend, for me to have any sort of value. So in my house, both my parents were drug addicts. My mom worked constantly and my dad did not. And I became a product of my environment. I became the worst of both of my parents. I started smoking when I was 10, and I did drugs for the first time when I was 12. I was afraid to do the drugs my parents did, so I chose psychedelic hallucinogenics instead, because that was really a smart choice. But the people we hang out with too really have a big influence on that, especially when we're little. And everybody knows that when you're 12, you don't really know anything. So from 12 till 31, I wasn't sober a day. Not one day. Not at school, not at work, not in any relationship, not anything. And yet, I choose not to focus on those things. Today we're going to focus on what has come of that. I'm a survivor of sexual abuse, of same-sex sexual abuse, of molestation, physical and sexual, mental, emotional abuse. I was even held hostage in my own house. And I think really the worst part of it was being ostracized by my community. Because something that we don't necessarily understand or grasp when we're stuck in whatever it is we're stuck in is that the difference between the opposite of addiction is not sobriety. It's actually connection. So that's the thing that we are missing, is a connection with other human beings. And as a kid, because I believed that there was something wrong with me, how I couldn't connect with anybody because I was broken. Like there was this inherent belief that there was absolutely 100% something totally wrong with me, and that wasn't okay. And so to escape that, because it seemed like my family hated me and I didn't have friends at school and I thought I was stupid, I turned to books. I watched TV. I daydreamed. I mean, I remember riding my bike when I was like 10 years old, pretending it was a car, because I just wanted to like run away from my life and I could just drive away and go wherever I wanted. That same life followed me until I was 30. In my youth, in my 20s, I sought out love and acceptance from friends, but mostly from men who never really accepted me for who I was. And that led me into a really super toxic relationship for about 10 years. Really quickly, in March 2010, I moved to Victoria with my sister. We had just finished working at the Olympics, which was awesome, except I got really drunk, fell off a sidewalk, broke my foot on moving day. My sister was not impressed with me. And when I moved here, I just got whatever job I could, and I was still living the same life. I was getting high every day, trying to work, trying to pull my life together, because I always felt, have you ever had that inkling inside yourself that you're just made for something bigger than where you are right now? That has never left me, not one day in my life, not from the time I can remember, that has been this thing, like that I'm better than what I'm doing. So in 2011, I gave my notice for a job that I had for a year. I had no other job to go to. I lied because I just hated it. And one day I'm sitting in my backyard and I just asked God. I wasn't really a Christian, but I believed in God. I'd been saved when I was a kid. And I just asked him, can I please just have something better? So his really fun idea of something better was for me to sell life insurance. So I did this thing. I started selling life insurance, which was kind of awesome, except when you have to talk to people about dying all the time, that really sucks. And but in the process, I met this girl. And one day when I was driving her to work, she asked me if she could pray for me. And if anybody's ever asked you that before you became to believe in Jesus, you're like, this is really weird. And it's rude to say no. So, okay. But this is weird. So I said yes. Within 2.5 weeks, I was at church on Easter, sitting in a pew telling Jesus, you can have my life, and I don't know what that means. Yeah, so that is what happened. And then over the next year and a bit, I got in a car accident. I lost my job. I ended up homeless. And a whole bunch of really what looked like not great things happened. Until one day I was walking on a beach and I met this guy. And this guy said to me, in 5 years, you will be 5 years older. You can still be sitting on your sister's couch, or you can do something different with your life. What are you going to do? I went to that beach every day. I never saw that guy again. Craziest thing. That day I decided that I was going to go get help. So I went to treatment, did more treatment. And so over the last 5 years, I've done 5 sets of steps through AA, Celebrate Recovery, and Freedom Session. I go to a counselor once a month. I still do the things that I need to do to stay healthy because I'm a recovered addict, and that doesn't mean that there's still not temptation. That doesn't mean that I don't still have moments like yesterday where it's really hard to make the right decision. So back to this question. Do you remember the 2 questions I asked you? Could somebody tell me what one of them was? Thank you. Does anybody remember the other one? Very good. So, if God is love, and he calls us to love him and others, what are those characteristics? Anybody know? Can anybody tell me what love looks like? Thank you. Good. Do you treat yourself like that? In your recovery, do you treat yourself like that? I know I didn't. I didn't for a really long time. For a really long time, I just focused on all the things I didn't do right. But God doesn't do that to us. He doesn't even remember the things we did wrong. So why are we constantly comparing ourselves to other people, looking at what we did yesterday and how we screwed up and all those things? What about that little thing you did right that takes you down the right road? So tonight, I just want to leave you. David's going to play me a song in a second. But I just want to leave you with this. Through my recovery, what I have learned is that I am valuable. Nice. That I matter. That it doesn't matter how much money I have. It doesn't matter what my job is. It doesn't matter that I drive a blue minivan and I'm single and have no kids. Doesn't matter. Because that van hauls fruit for me, which is a gift from God that I get to give to other people. It doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter what the not great things are, because even those not great things, God will use to bring goodness in your life. So my encouragement to you tonight is to go home and stand in the mirror and tell yourself 5 times one thing you like about yourself. Just one. Like, let's not go big and go like 12. Just one. What is one thing, whether it be like somebody said to me, we had to do this exercise and tell us one thing you like about yourself. I have epic legs, okay? Like, I got killer legs. You can not agree with me. I don't care. I know. It's good. What is that one thing you have? Whether it be your work ethic, your something on your face or your fingers or a talent you have, there's something in each and every one of us. And it's time that instead of us beating the crap out of each other and out of ourselves, that we start with ourselves and we start treating ourselves with kindness and patience and gentleness and not reminding ourselves of all the things we did wrong and not getting so mad at ourselves that we can't do this thing because something happened. So, yeah, the end.
Yeah.
So it's like 2 minutes. I just want people to listen to it.
Can we pray while we're doing it? We're going to? So Dave's going to play a song. There's some people that are kind of doing lead stuff on Wednesdays, and they're going to just come up, be available for prayer. If you just want someone to pray with you while the song is being played, you just come up and they'll just pray for you. That's all we're going to ask. So we'll crank it up. Let's all stand up here. Just want to pray with someone, come up, and they'll just pray with you. Whatever it is you want.
You have been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. And you have been so, so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, and I don't deserve it. Still, you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Yeah. When I was your fault, still your love.